Hi friends, this is October 6th and I am doing a Q&A video. This is my second Q&A video. And I opened up questions to not only the YouTube subscribers, but also on Instagram, because I know that you can't actually access that community page on YouTube to post a comment on the community tab unless you're going on YouTube from a laptop. So for people using YouTube on your phones, which most of my videos are a little bit lower resolution, so they actually are more viewable on phones, you know, so those people were able to submit questions on my Instagram. So I'm going to start with the Instagram questions, then I'm going to jump into the YouTube community page questions, and I'm probably going to have to break this up into a few sections in this video because I have a hair client coming in 15 minutes. This morning's been a little bit crazy. So I didn't get to film until a little bit later. So what I did is I printed out some of the Instagram questions, and I'm just gonna answer those first. So first question was, can you do a budgeting vlog? I would be happy to give that a shot. I don't know that I'm really very qualified to do a budgeting vlog at this point, just because I don't really have a set budget. So it's kind of weird. My finances right now are very weird because it completely depends on how much art I sell, how many hair clients I have, what I can generate for income in a month. So I don't really have a set income. And so some months I don't make enough to pay bills and I have to get a new credit card and rack up credit and loans. Other months I do make enough to pay bills. And so it's, you know, then I can kind of budget within that month. So my budgeting is almost like this flexing, ever-changing thing. But, you know, I could do my best to do a budgeting vlog. I don't know. I just don't know if it'd be helpful to anybody, but I would consider it. Second question, what did you do for a living before working for yourself? So I was a college professor. I actually was quarterly faculty at Eastern Washington University in the Africana Studies Department. I've taught 15 college courses. I also started, before Africana Studies, I was in the art department. And before that, I actually was at North Idaho College when we lived in North Idaho, when Isaiah was in high school. And I taught art at North Idaho College. And then I also taught a couple classes at Whitworth University. So sorry about all the background noise. That's Langston. And his movie is really loud today, so I'm gonna have to turn that down. It's just a really loud part right now. So that's what I did for a living. I also have always been doing hair. So like just on the side though, just a little teeny bit here and there when I had all my other jobs. So I had 4 jobs before now working for myself. The only paid job was teaching at the college level. I also had, like, I guess you could call it paid. I was writing for one of the local papers. It's called the Inlander. And I was only getting paid $25 an article. So I kind of felt like that's almost, I mean, that's barely paid. And then I had 2 unpaid jobs. So that wasn't really work. I mean, it was definitely serious work from my perspective, but it wasn't income generating. And those 2 unpaid jobs were president of the NAACP in Spokane and chair of the Police Ombudsman Commission. So that was like the Police Accountability Commission for the city. So those were both unpaid. And then my job at the university was the only paid job. And that was on a contract basis. So that was like every 10 weeks it would change how many classes I was going to be teaching. But I was teaching full-time, like a full-time load of classes before June of 2015 when everything came, you know, all my jobs got canceled and nobody really fired me, but they decided to not renew my contract, which is the same thing. And then the unpaid positions, of course, were lost. And, you know, but with the loss of the paid position is when I had to really start growing my hair clientele and really pushing, you know, sales of my art and just kind of like leaning into those two skill sets. Next question. Okay, now there were like several questions on Instagram that were not appropriate, so I'm just not even gonna read those. I guess I'll read like one that's kind of like appropriate, but I'm not gonna, you know, it's just like irrelevant. But one was, can I take you out? So I'm not dating right now. Nobody can take me out, male or female, doesn't matter. I've been offered up to $25,000 to go on a dinner date. Not happening. I've watched too many episodes of Criminal Minds. I'm just not in a place right now where I am willing to go out on a date. I'm sorry. It's just how it is. It's where my mindset is right now. Is just focused on me and my kids. Next question. This is a little more serious and substantial. How's your son enjoying Manchester? So far, I've only had one video conference with Isaiah, and he seemed to be doing well, though he kind of had a cold, so he wasn't feeling great, but he does seem to be enjoying it, and I was glad to see that his living arrangement is a little bit more modern and spacious than the really teeny tiny small place that he was living at when he was in the dorms at Stellenbosch University in South Africa. It was like really small and claustrophobic, but University of Manchester's accommodations look nice. He has a great view out his window at his little apartment place, and so far, yeah, I think he's enjoying it. I wish so much that I could afford to go visit him. So yeah, maybe I'll sell a couple paintings and be able to surprise myself and go see my son in the UK. Next question, where's your favorite place to go on a first date? So I think that because I haven't been dating for 4.5 years, I don't even know anymore. Honestly, I don't even know anymore. Back when I used to date, before being like a self-imposed celibate for the last 4 years, just out of necessity. I feel like just with the situation, we're still getting on our feet, so I just don't want to share our chaotic life with anybody right now. And yeah, so probably like I like low-key things. I like things that can connect with somebody, like not something where you're going to watch a movie and you're just going to focus on the movie the whole time. I like you know, taking a walk, or maybe doing an activity together or something like that where you can really get to know someone. That's just in general what I prefer, as opposed to going somewhere where you're going to be both like super distracted from each other. But it's always nice to just meet somebody doing what you're doing, like meet somebody at work, or doing like community activities, community service, that kind of thing. Like, you know, just meeting somebody doing volunteer work, or somebody that has the same interests as you. I think at my age, at 41, if I was to date again, it would definitely be top priority number one, somebody who is compatible in terms of lifestyle. And I mean, you know, you can like really get attracted to somebody who is just not like, would never make an ideal roommate or partner in life, but you might be physically attracted to them. And at this point in my life, I am really able to just kind of shut that off, because my mind immediately clicks in like, that person we wouldn't work out as a family, so not interested. So that's just kind of those are my thoughts. What are your best memories from when you lived in Mississippi during college? That's a great question. Actually, so this was asked by the person who I actually went to homecoming with in college in Mississippi. So yes, that was one of my favorite experiences, was the college homecoming, because I never had prom or homecoming in high school for me, because I was homeschooling and raising 4 babies in high school. So I really enjoyed going to homecoming, and we actually went to E&L's barbecue, which is like the best barbecue in Jackson, Mississippi, or it was back in 1996, 1998. What are you doing, Langston? Do you need mama? So that was a great memory. I also really enjoyed, actually one of my favorite memories too is my first art exhibit. My very first art show of my career was at age 19. I was a student at Belhaven College, and my first show was at Smith Robertson Museum, which is actually the first Black school in Jackson historically, but it has been created into a museum. So it's like a Black History museum. And I had my first solo show of my artwork there. And that was like just an amazing memory for me. Great turnout. Lots of people came. The first piece of art I ever sold was for, I think, $1,250. And that really helped me as a college student, creating art and entering national competitions and exhibiting and that kind of thing. So moving on. Next question is a little more weird. I don't know. Are you ticklish? Yes. But it's a brain thing too. Like, I have to be in the right mood for it. Otherwise, like, I can turn it off. If you don't catch me off guard or at the right moment, I can make myself not ticklish. Next question. What keeps you motivated? This right here keeps me motivated. This little guy. Huh, Langston? You keep mama motivated. Yeah, my kids and my desire to return to advocacy and activism work. I mean, I really want to make a difference in the world, and that keeps me motivated because I do believe that I have a purpose for my life. Next question, have you seen Chappelle's special? And if so, what did you think of it? I did not watch Dave Chappelle's special. Back in 2015, he made a statement that he would not be making any jokes about me. And then when his special came out on Netflix, somebody was like, oh, did you see Dave Chappelle's joke about you? And I was like, I'm not even gonna watch that. I thought I was off limits. I thought he was going to be nice and, respect the situation. But a lot of people just, go there, comedians go there, and I don't enjoy hearing jokes about me. It hurts. So why would I want to watch that? I don't even know what he said, but somebody just said that, he brought me up in his special, and I just was like, yeah, that's comedy. I don't enjoy I went to a comedy show downtown here in Spokane one time to support a friend, and it was like a open mic night. And literally nobody knew that I was there personally except for her. But there were probably 20 comedians before she went. And so I had to suffer through all these jokes about me because nobody knew I was even there. So they're just like sitting there talking about RachelADolezal jokes. And that just hurt. And I don't like that. I mean, it's like, why would you shame somebody for anything, personal like that? I'm a single mom. I'm a regular person. I'm not Kim Kardashian. I don't have millions of dollars. I'm not, I never really wanted to be famous. I just really wanted to do good work in the community. And so yeah, all that kind of stuff. I'm over it. I don't really like it. Next question is, have you kept in touch with Ambassador Atala Shabazz, which is Malcolm X's oldest daughter, if any of you don't know who she is? Yes, I have, and just chatted with her the other day, actually. And I'm really grateful for her presence and concern and care in our life. What is your favorite Netflix show or movie? Well, of course, The Rachel Divide. No. Actually, I cannot watch that ever again. I mean, we saw it in 2018 when it came out, but it's just so emotional. I'm not watching that again. Neither are my kids. But let me think. Netflix. I really like Mindhunter. Shows like that. I also like. I probably should have thought about that one longer. I don't know. I like the Great British Baking Show and stuff like that to just put on when I'm doing house cleaning or something, just as background kind of noise. So yeah, there are some shows definitely that I watch on Netflix. I would say that Franklin has recommended 13 Reasons Why and some other ones. Game of Thrones, I guess that's not on Netflix. But I don't watch a lot of TV. Like, I don't watch a ton of shows. I have a friend that likes to watch This Is Us and How to Get Away with Murder and David Makes Man and some other shows on TV that I'm trying to keep up with her on that. So we talk about some of those shows, but that's just on, I watch that on an app on my phone. So, and by the way, I still have to pay Netflix subscription every month. Like, what's that? I didn't get paid for the documentary, and I don't even get a free Netflix subscription, which I feel like that there's something wrong with that. But anyway, next question is, how do you stay so nice and docile dealing with the negative hate? I guess it's just my personality. Like, my personality is just not to be mean. I do have a very strong sense of justice. So if somebody crosses me in a more direct way or threatens my children, that's when I get, I kind of go to a different place. But when people are just doing this whole negative thing and hatefulness toward me for their own entertainment value, or even feeling like they're justified in attacking me because I have the story about me, the media has reminded them of pain in their life or things like that. I guess my first reaction is just to listen, because I feel like sometimes people don't want to hear anything from me, and they just want to vent. They just want to say what they want to say about it. They've already made up their mind, and there's no real use in trying to, tit for tat and come back and fight about it. So I guess I know who I am, and I have resolved and have peace inside of myself about who I am, what the real situation is. And so I guess that does help some of that to roll off my back to an extent. But there is another layer there where the cumulative effect of all of the microaggressions and direct bullying and hate and negativity, after 4.5 years, it does get draining. It does wear me down. Some days are hard, definitely, but I keep going. I kind of, I'm resilient. I bounce back, try and stay focused, and that kind of thing. So now we're gonna switch to the YouTube questions. So welcome to part 2. So these are the YouTube questions. Question number 1 is, do you plan on having your book on Audible with you as the narrator? And would you do Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith if given the opportunity? So I don't have plans for Audible. The simple reason is that the publisher who published my book, my hard copy book, has not yet been able to get them interested in making an Audible book of my book, because there haven't yet been enough sales of the hard copy. So you kind of have to, the audio publisher, so there's an audio publisher and a in-print publisher, and they have to agree that the demand for your book will reach a certain level to warrant an audio book. So I'm grateful that I did get my book published in 2017. It was released, and It's out there for anybody to read. You can get it free through your local library with interlibrary loan, or you can order it on Amazon. You can order a signed copy on my website, RachelADolezal.com. But unfortunately, I don't have an audio plan for it on Audible or anywhere else. I wish that I could. I'm in the process of trying to figure out if there's a way around it, like if I could just read my book on YouTube or something. But I don't want to violate any kind of contract that I have with the publisher, and want to make sure that I do everything by the books, no pun intended. So yeah, no plans for Audible. I wish, and yes, I would absolutely want to be the narrator since it's my story. Would I do Red Table Talk with Jada Pinkett Smith? I love her Red Table Talk platform. I have never been invited. If given the opportunity, or if she invited me, yes, absolutely. I would love to do a conversation at the Red Table. I do feel like, of course, I would want to be assured that it's going to be as her Red Table Talks typically are, which is very, typically she's very warm and inviting and fair. And so if that was the situation, absolutely, I'd be all about it and would love to. I follow her work, and my kids actually are big Will Smith fans. So Franklin and Isaiah have always, especially Isaiah, they were just, Fresh Prince fans. And then after that, just like he's one of their favorite actors. So, but I really like the fact that she has been taking more of a spiritual approach. And I feel like that's really what's needed to bring compassion, understanding, and clarity to a situation like mine, rather than the clickbait, sensational, negative, hostile, toxic vibe that a lot of the media tends to come with. So I don't know, we'll see. I guess, right now I don't have to make a decision on that because I don't have an invitation. The next question is, you do many different art forms. Is there any kind of art you haven't done but would like to learn or try? Hold on one second. Langston wants more water. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. Is there any kind of art you haven't done but would like to learn or try? No, not anything that I necessarily haven't done or have on my to-do list, other than things that I've already done that I wish I could do again. Like sculpture is really hard for me to do right now because I don't have a setup for it. Like it really makes a big mess. So since we are living in a rental, it's just really hard. Like I don't want to do mass amounts of sculpture because it would be really hard to set up and clean up and everything. So I can do like some small scale sculpture. I also really would like to work large again, but again, that's harder to do right now because most of my purchases or art collectors are out of state, or some are even out of the country, and shipping is a concern. So if I work too large, then it's just prohibitive for shipping, and also prohibitive for when I move next year, hopefully out of this area. I don't want to have tons of huge work to lug around with me. Next question, what sort of gifts do you prefer to receive? Any gifts. I love gifts, and I really love surprises. But that being said, I really just like it when somebody gives a gift that they want you to have, or they want to see you either wear or enjoy. And yeah, so there are a couple friends who send a gift now and again, and a couple friends who are like super generous and send several things a year, and they always nail it. So like there's nothing that I don't want to have. Where in the US would you like to travel to? So I like the East Coast. As far as like relocation, that would be one question. To travel, I honestly would rather travel outside of the US or to Hawaii or somewhere. Other than, traveling, I don't just think of like, oh, I want to travel in the US unless it was on a book tour or something like that, which I never was able to have due to negative media. So, like if there was a reason or a purpose to travel within the United States on some kind of a work event, then I would definitely love to just see people everywhere, like people who would like to meet me and want to connect. So next question is, what are your favorite authors? Or who are your favorite authors? I love Toni Morrison. I love James Baldwin. I also really love academic stuff like Dorothy Roberts. I love Audrey Smedley and Anne Morning and Angela Davis and Asada Shakur. And I like to read a lot of history and a lot of nonfiction. So that's but as far as fiction goes, I like, Toni Morrison is just like one of the best. So, and James Baldwin is also, of course, more of a nonfiction, but he also did fiction. But, like his philosophy and a lot of the statements that he made that were more philosophical and political statements, like I just resonate with a lot of things that he says. But also love his fiction work too. So, when it comes to press-on nails, is there a certain design or style you prefer? For example, lighter colors instead of darker colors. I like French tip, red, and gold, I would say are my three favorites. But I also sometimes like a nude or pink or lighter, softer color. I guess it just depends a little bit on the season. And what I'm kind of wearing during that season, if that makes sense. And the brand, I like Broadway or Kiss. I think those are the two brands that typically I get. Do you celebrate Christmas or do you have any favorite holiday traditions? Yes, we celebrate Christmas. We used to, throughout Franklin's childhood, we celebrated Christmas on like even years and Kwanzaa on odd years. Like every other year we do either Christmas or Kwanzaa because he was at his dad's every other year, like for the first half of the break or the second half of the break. So he would go like on the 26th, or he would come home on the 26th. And so that's like the first day of Kwanzaa. So we did Christmas every other year and Kwanzaa every other year. And we still just kind of, I guess now, since he's just here regardless, like every Christmas, it seems like we do the Christmas morning presents. Everybody opens a single present on Christmas Eve. I really like to have a live tree if possible because I like that smell, and I like to bake gingerbread ornaments, not edible, but just like for the tree. And I add a ton of cloves and cinnamon and nutmeg and just like a lot of spice, like way too much spice to ever eat, into the cookies, and make them kind of extra hard and cut out little shapes. And then sometimes I just do circles or whatever, and then string a ribbon through them and hang them on the tree. And then also have like the lights with that, and then some kind of colorful balls like gold or red or whatever. And it just creates kind of like an air freshener throughout the month of December and a little bit into January. So that's kind of a tradition that we have. And then just presents under the tree. Even if there's not a lot of budget for big expensive gifts, something memorable, something that the person will take with them or carry with them throughout the year. And also food. Yeah, we do have, so for Christmas and Thanksgiving, I always do like a big dinner, and I let the kids choose what's on the menu. So that's how we do that. I just cook whatever they want me to cook. Next question. Are you guys hanging in there? So my hair client never showed up, obviously. So that's why I am still doing this Q&A. My next one isn't for another hour and a half, so we've got plenty of time, but we're not going to take that long on these. How is your relationship with Franklin and Langston's birth fathers? Well, Langston's dad ghosted us, and I probably will never talk to him again unless he unblocks and reaches out. He's not on Langston's birth certificate and wanted nothing to do with anything, so his ultimatum was basically like get an abortion or you know, either marry him, get an abortion, or there was nothing. So I didn't want to marry him because of his perspective on those two alternatives. You know, like that was so dichotomous. Marriage, or we'd only been dating for a month before I got pregnant with Langston. So yeah, that was that. I made a choice to have Langston as a single parent because I did not want to have an abortion during I was 1 month pregnant during June of 2015 when everything in my life exploded and everybody started, you know, going on this rampage about my identity. So my relationship with Franklin's dad, I feel like, is a little bit better this year just because he's a senior. I feel like we've put some of our differences aside a little bit. We're finally, after 15 years of divorce, able to communicate more cordially and just about Franklin, you know, and his best interest in getting him into college and things like that. So, you know, I would say that that's a cordial relationship right now. Do you have regrets? And if so, what is your biggest regret? I don't live with a lot of regrets. I always try to learn from things and move forward and just kind of keep that constant culture of improvement, constant culture of growth, sort of as my state of being. And so I don't really have like a specific big, huge regret. I do think that, like, given the circumstances and my level of evolution and understanding at each moment, I did do the best that I could do in life all the way through, and I have peace with that. Like, I don't have any shining moment where I'm like, gosh, you know, I really screwed up and I shouldn't have, you know, made this decision, or, you know, I like did something for a really bad purpose or anything like that. So I get asked that a lot though. And sometimes it kind of makes me wonder, like, should I have a regret? I do kind of feel some kind of way about how other people have treated my situation. And, you know, when somebody implies like that you shouldn't have done this or you shouldn't have done that, it kind of threatens your psychology about it. Like, you start to question yourself if you're not super secure in what you believe. But I'm very secure in what I believe and in why. So, you know, like, my identity is not something I regret. Obviously, that's just who I am. But when it comes to life regrets, I mean, it's just, there are some circumstances that I would have changed, but I couldn't have changed them at that given point in time. So, how do you learn to cook and bake so much from scratch? So how did I learn to cook? So if you read my book, this person probably didn't, you'll hear all about this, because there are some people who have commented on my YouTube videos of cooking, like, this totally makes sense because I read your book and this is exactly what I would expect, knowing that you yada yada yada. So in my book I talk about, like, since I could stand on a chair and reach the cupboard from a chair, so I was like 3 or 4 years old, I was chopping things, washing dishes, doing things in the kitchen. So we lived, you know, I grew up poor and we had more of like a subsistence lifestyle. So we kind of just had to like make things from scratch, just like that was just the lifestyle I was raised with. So by now, it just kind of like, it's been 4 decades of living like that. I don't really understand mixes like Bisquick and stuff like that. Like I like to have control of like all the different spices separately so that I can compose. It's almost like cooking is like creating. It's like an art piece or something. Like you create knowing what flour and baking powder and sugar and salt and oregano and thyme and basil and onion and garlic and all these different things do, and oil, and you just, you know what all those ingredients do, so then you just kind of like put it together. Just like I know what colors do in painting, so I can mix colors and put together a painting. Like I can compose that. So that's just kind of how I think about it. Next question is, do you plan on writing another book? So I have 2. Actually, I have 2 and a little bit more of one. So I have my memoir, which is my main book. I also self-published a book I wrote for my little sister when she was young, and it has a stand-up paper doll on the back with changeable hairstyles, and I just self-published that and make the doll and hair attachments by hand. And I have a limited number of those left. I think like about 40 or so left of that particular book. So the other book that I have participated in writing, I should say, because it's a collaboration, but it's called The War on Poverty, a retrospective, and it's actually a Rutgers University textbook, and I helped co-author the chapter that is titled how low-income female-headed households have fared since the War on Poverty. It's a very long title, but basically it's just kind of like looking back historically at the War on Poverty when that was taking place, and then like how have things been since then? Like, did the so-called War on Poverty really eradicate poverty? Where did it fall short? What has happened since then? What measures could we take to change policy or politics to empower low-income female-headed households, for example? So that is the third book that's out there that includes my name in it. So yeah, I would write another book if I had either the time to do unpaid work, because you have to front your time to write a book unless you're paid to write it, or if I just was financially situated well and felt like a particular topic was really pressing that I needed to share with the world. I did actually start a book about living in between, and not just me, but all the people have reached out to me, but people who are either mixed, or people who consider themselves to be transracial, or people who consider themselves to be transgracial, like transgender and transracial, or all these different ways of being in between categories, and how personal experiences evolve and grow through that, and what the experience is with just the individual that's kind of caught in between two potentially oppositional categories or boxes or sides. But I had to set that down just because I've got to survive right now. I'm not going to get paid to write that. But I started collecting stories from women, especially Black women, who don't necessarily present or appear as solidly or stereotypically, I guess you'd say, Black, like people who could kind of, it's like, what are you, or what are you mixed with, or one girl is albino, one girl kind of is half 50% of each skin tone on her body due to vitiligo. Another girl is just, has very loosely even weight, almost straight hair, but as a Black parent. I mean, just different stories of people who have experienced pain being caught in between Black and white. But there are other stories too that I wanted to include in that. So I kind of started that, but then it was just I have to survive, and nobody's even buying my initial book enough to support another book. What are my favorite TV shows, Netflix binge movies? So I think I've covered that to some extent. Do you feel like you have a solid support group from friends and family outside of your social media supporters? I do. I have a very small support group, I would say, that's like in real life, IRL. And yeah, it's just like small and close knit, just to, very like probably people I could count on one hand that are really there for me. But I do feel like a lot of the social media supporters are also like really there for me. I just have never met some of you, but I want to believe that people do genuinely care. So is your little sister's case going to trial again anytime soon? Hope you all are doing well. It was such a bad situation. Sadly, no. The state has to like make the decision like to lead that case because it's a sex crime against a child, and so the state of Colorado has not chosen to bring her case back. I mean, they were prosecuting the case and then they dismissed it in 2015 due to me being her key witness, obviously, and my credibility being destroyed. So sadly, the perpetrator, our older brother who molested her and me both, is still, as far as I know, has his jobs, totally fine, I mean, as far as economically and everything else, hasn't had any consequences. And that's been a real tragedy. I wish that there's some way to just shower her with love and support, and for people to just, I don't know, for just the world to fix that, for justice to actually happen. But I think that what would have to happen is the state of Colorado would have to be convinced to bring it back. The statute of limitations has expired for her to litigate. So, yeah, that just really sucks. And I had hoped that by writing my book and by doing the Netflix documentary, those two things would really help rebuild my credibility in time to where people would actually hear the true story. But as it turns out, a lot of people just question my book or question the Netflix documentary or just still don't believe anything. So, they just still want to throw shade. And so the mass public opinion still did not shift enough in time for her case to come back. If the entire world was we got this wrong, Rachel is not a liar, she's not a fraud, she is a good person, she was trying to support her sister, and the parents totally blew this up on every national TV channel in order to shut down this case. We need to bring this back. If that's what everybody was shouting from every platform, then yeah, maybe it would have come back and she could have had justice. But nobody did that. The people who supported privately. The people who opposed publicly. And here we are. So that is very upsetting. Do you have a relationship with your family? So the people who I consider family are my kids and my sister. And of course I have a relationship with them because I talk about it all the time. There is no other family other than them right now. My dad passed in August of last year, so he's been gone for a year now, and that's been really hard to just kind of realize that all I have in life for family are my children, and that's it. So, and my sister. But at the same time, of course, I'm very grateful for them being in my life, and I'm proud of our small family. It's harmonious. We are all trying to do the best we can, be the best we can. We're forever supportive of each other in this little small little circle. Langston, did you say hi? Are you eating goldfish crackers? Langston likes the extra cheddar goldfish, huh? Extra cheddar. Extra cheddar. So last question to wrap up this little session is just wondering why no Ebonic accent or blaccent? I mean, I talk how I talk. I do code switch from time to time if I'm in a certain environment or situation, but like, you know, if I'm just talking on YouTube, yeah, I'm gonna talk proper. So yeah, that's that. I don't know exactly what, you know, yeah, I don't put on like some kind of big performance or try and act some way that I'm not. I'm just me, and this is how I am. So, yep, that answers all of your questions, all of the ones that were not inappropriate, like questions about measurements of body parts. No, thank you. Oh, I did get a marriage proposal. Like, will you marry me? That was actually a question. What? Like, who would ever say yes to that? As actually, that's probably like probably more than a dozen times that I've gotten that question sent to me. Probably more than, maybe even more like 100 times. Like on a comment or in a DM or in just a random question. Don't ask me to marry you. I don't even know you. And if you ask me to take you on a date online, like, I don't even know you. Like, I would have to meet you and I'd have to feel comfortable with you as a person, and also, most importantly, want to date in order to go out. So yeah, sorry. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to protect the very small and somewhat fragile household that we still have right now today, and help nurture and grow myself, my kids, and help everybody get to a more stable place financially and socially. And at that point, maybe I will add a new dynamic to the mix. But I am not trying to add more dynamics and drama. Not now. No, thank you. But thanks for the flattery. And thank you everyone for your questions. And that concludes the second Q&A.